Thank you all for coming here today. My name is Jodi Willie, and I'm a filmmaker and a curator. And I am not a Unarian, but I'm an admirer of the Unarians, and have gotten to know them over the last couple of years when I put some of their work into a museum show that I was curating, and then curated some evenings at the Cinefamily Cinematheque in Los Angeles of their films. And I've long been a big admirer of the group itself and their philosophies and cosmology and their practices, and also an admirer of the clearly positive effects that the Unarian practices and teachings have had on the lives of the people that I've met in Unarius. So it's an honor to be here today and get to share this remarkable film with you. For me and my own work, I have been interested in visionary thinkers and self-taught artists and spiritual groups and subcultures. And beyond Unarius's belief system and their practices, what has most struck me about the group is their remarkable creative output. And this comes from a very unusual process that I'll tell you a little bit more about. But first I'd like to just share a few photographs from the Unarius archive. And so, and tell you a little bit about them. If you'd like to just roll the slides here. Unarius has a center down in El Cajon outside of San Diego. And this is a beautiful room in their center. Founded by Ruth Norman and Ernest Norman, two advanced clairvoyants, got married in 1954. They founded Unarius. And there's Ruth after she became Uriel. So in 1971, Ernest transitioned, and Ruth became the leader of the group and basically started ultimately creating a film lab. So the Unarians have many different ideas and principles. One of them is that by nature we're all psychic. So everyone is psychic, and we can enhance those qualities by the study of Unarian practices and principles. Another one of the main ideas that they promote is that the future of planet Earth is positive and progressive, which is one that I particularly like to think about, especially these days. And then another one of the ideas that they talk about is that not only is reincarnation a fact of life, but that many problems that mankind faces, physical issues, relationship issues, neuroses, tics, all come from past life issues. And that these issues can be addressed and they can be sensed, picked up by the individual and identified, and they can be healed through what the Unarians do with past life psychodrama therapy. And a lot of the images that you're seeing here are evidence of their remarkable creative output. These are books they put together, cassette tapes. You saw many stills from the movies they shot. They have a massive archive that I've been going through that is blowing my mind. And did a lot of dancing and celebration. And a lot of this creative output comes from the inspiration that the Unarians received from the Space Brothers. So they also have contact with interplanetary beings, and after the movie they can correct anything I'm telling you here right now. By the way, so I'm not totally blowing it too much here, because it is a complex cosmology, one I'm really fascinated with. But back in the mid-70s, there were a lot of young people with a lot of energy at Unarius, and so Ruth Norman set up a film lab and a video lab, and they were doing psychodrama therapy, but what they did was they started making movies and videos. And so the film that we're going to see tonight is one of many films and videos that they've produced over the years, but it's one that I I personally consider their masterwork because the special effects in this film are so mind-boggling. But what's really remarkable to me about this film and the other films too is that the Unarians, they didn't use scripts or actors in their filmmaking. What they did was, and we'll talk about this more specifically afterwards because we have actual Unarians who were there for the filming, who will be here after the screening. But they tuned into their other lifetimes. So there's no acting in these films. What we're watching are individuals who are sincerely tuning in to what they recognize to be their previous lives together and acting them back out together for the purpose of spiritual healing. So it's a very interesting filmmaking practice that is just totally fascinating to me, and I hope you'll enjoy it. I guess that's all I'll say for now, but after the arrival, please stick around and we'll be able to hear about how it was made from people who were there. All right, so shall we bring some of you up who are in the film? We've got Jennifer Stovall here, who is one of the furry-haired space robots. We've got Kevin Kennedy, who was helping with production on the film, right?
Yes.
And then that guy with the camera right there, I hope he'll come up. He was a space being. David, would you come up? Will you join us? All right. So first I just have to talk about the special effects just for a minute because they're so outstanding. And what you all should know, I think I mentioned this beforehand, but most of you were in your early 20s at this time, right?
Right.
So Uriel set up the photo lab, and she bought cameras and lights and sounds, and you also did sound, right? For the yeah. But so you were in your early 20s and very limited experience, right? Like
None.
how did those effects happen? And no budget, very low budget, right?
Right.
Can you speak on that?
Sure. There's a couple of things that I want to relate because this film, what you saw, was probably started, I want to say, in 1977 and finished up about 1980. It was made for the huge amount of money. My guess is probably around $10,000, which today wouldn't buy you anything. And the filmmaker, Dave Osborne, who played the lighted being fellow who was trying to lead his planet to goodness, was a very fantastic filmmaker, a very inspired person to do this movie. But we didn't have any money and there was no CGI at that time, no computer graphics. So everything that you saw that was a special effect, that spaceship is about, I don't know, 3.5 feet around, something like that. We made the model, and then he made mats and put a big huge mat box on front of his camera. And so like the spaceship that you see sitting there in Zan's at the bottom of it, that may have gone through the camera 25 times, the film, to get that one shot. The circle of stars was done over a period of probably a couple of months. And stars coming at you, that you're going into, or the spaceship is going into. That took about, that went through the camera, he said, 65 times. So you see a little bit of the scratches on the film. Well, there's a reason for it, because they had to, you'd film it, bring it back, film it again, bring it back. And, matting out different areas, and then filming it again. Now, the really incredible thing was, as Jodi was saying, he had some experience doing film. He was one of these guys that just grew up and what's school for? I'm filming. He's just that kind of a guy. The rest of us, David loved music, so he became a sound guy. I, was creative, and so I helped with all the sets and some of the things that were happening that, sets had to be made. The board that all the ghouls were sitting at doing their things, I helped do that. I helped with all the lighting behind it. So there was all kinds of things that needed to be done, and that was what I essentially did. And the overall thing that I always like to impress is that Uriel, Ruth Norman, was the creative force behind all of this. Because David Osborne, before he came to Unarius, never did anything like that. And after he left, he never did anything like that. And so many of the students, as we were involved, and we had this tremendous positive force behind us saying, you can do it. Open up to your inspiration. You have that inspiration in you. You can do this. And honestly, I know Jennifer and myself and David, she came down and she said, and I have the video or the audio transcript of it and the audio of her sitting in front of us and saying, you kids are going to make movies. And that's about how we were. Silent. What are you talking about? I'm having a hard time standing up and telling people my name, and you're going to tell me now I'm going to make movies?
Can I say that? Yeah, I mean, that's what I found so interesting with Unarius, too. I know a number of you came in from very different backgrounds, but you in particular came in and had kind of a lot of issues, right?
Oh, yeah.
That Unarius helped work out?
Absolutely. And, you know, I think everybody here knows that we all got issues. But I had some tremendous inhibitions, incredible inhibitions. And Uriel was the one, and, you know, she she just said, you're going to be able to do this. So we're going to start at this point and moving forward. And we knew we weren't actors and actresses. People look and go, wow, that's really bad. We knew we weren't actors and actresses. But what we were doing was, there was such a cathartic thing that happened by enacting these different things, being involved in these psychodramas, that it completely changed our lives. And so what I'm doing right now, sitting up here and talking, I talk in front of audiences all the time now. And yeah, I get a little nervous, but it's no big deal. When I first got involved with Unarius, I probably would have just sat here and cried. And I'm not kidding. And that's the change that I've had because of being involved in all that.
May I add something? One of the most interesting things that we learned by taking part in this positive project was how to work out our past karma. It wasn't easy. We were just babies, students, plebeians learning how to do it. And we were taught by Uriel, a master at it, and she lovingly guided us through it. Now, there were times when Dave Osborne, when he's in his past, and Zan, or Dan Smith, was in his past, and he felt grumpy, out of sorts, in a bad mood, and he tried to, hey, Uriel, I'm in a bad mood, I can't do this video today. And Uriel would not allow that to happen, not because she was a tyrant or she loved giving rules to everybody. She said, look, dear, you've got to go down there and do it anyway. Do it with the love of the Space Brothers, or the love of your brothers who are going to get you through this. And when you went down there and faced your negative self, your grumpy self, your bad mood self, you get through it. And when you get on the other side, you've accomplished, you've overcome something. And those, especially Dave Osborne and Dan, they learned to do that eventually. And we all learn to do that eventually. It's a step-by-step process. That's one of the most amazing lessons I learned by being part of that project.
I'm just totally amazed, having looked at sort of your overall creative output as a group. So there's the Arrival, and then you've got Roots of the Earthman. You have Visit to the Underground Cities of Mars. Those are the Super 8 and 16mm films that Unarius did. But you've also done like 80 other videos that played on public access television for years. So Unarius not only had this wildly prolific creative output of videos and films, and you all were making inspired paintings and 200 books, but they were pioneers as far as getting their work out through this network of public access television stations. And I just, I've studied a number of different spiritual groups, from different periods, but I've never seen a group with this kind of output. How did you guys, what was it? I mean, what was it that inspired this radical creativity?
I think so much of it really came from being with and around Uriel. I mean, she was the generator because of her. Oh, can you hear? Is that better? Okay. She was the generator in terms of where her consciousness was coming from, the very high dimension, seventh dimension, high frequency worlds, and she would was able to bring that into this dimension, and you felt lifted, you felt creative, you wanted to feel more of that energy. I know for myself, my issue was being very shy, so that was a big overcoming for me. So I felt very, at first inhibited, but as I became more involved, I wanted to be involved in the makeup, in the costumes, more and more in the acting, in the psychodramas as they came up, and we had a whole costume department, we had the video department, and it was really what you felt at the time, and it became a very natural thing thanks to her love and that curiosity and that desire to understand ourselves.
Yeah, and this is a thing too that Unarius teaches in past life therapy, that, and David brought this up, is that as you understand that you've lived before, and you may have issues in your life that you want to overcome, inhibitions or problems, whatever that may be, insecurities, we have the tools given to us so that we can utilize those tools, see the past for what they are, discharge it, and as David was saying, you move beyond it. So that thing no longer has power over you, but you now are the master of your own consciousness and in your own situation. Now the wonderful thing that happens too is as you discharge these past life negations, the natural outcome is you want to be creative. See, every one of us has this wonderful creative spark, but it's been covered over with all this mud, all these things that we've been through so many different lifetimes. And so as you begin to unlock those things, it's just, you become a different person, a new person. A person that wants to be creative, not because you feel like you have to, but because it's just like breathing. How could you live without being creative? And that's the way I feel now. I do this every day. I'm creative every day. And why would you want to live any other way? So this is what Unarius has taught us, and is a natural outcome of understanding and discharging those past life negations that all of us have been a part of.